told my husband, can you go and open all the cupboards and search for the envelope? I think it's there somewhere. So, lo and behold, he opened a drawer and there was an envelope inside. I took it and I just opened it up. It was a huge piece of envelope, a yellow color envelope with a lot of writings. And after that, I just prayed. I said, whoever you are here, you no longer belong here. I'm going to leave here, so can you please leave? So at that point of time, on my right ear, there was a sigh, like.
Is anyone here? What did you find?
You are listening to Supernatural Confessions.
So for myself, it all started when I think my mom ever shared with me before. My mom, when she was pregnant with me, I think around her 7-month mark pregnancy, right? My dad was quite violent. So he tried throwing a bicycle, a full huge bicycle at my mom, at me, which is I'm in her belly, right? But the bicycle, surprisingly, when the bicycle flew over, it didn't land on me. It went ahead and it fell down. So my mom was very surprised because it couldn't be coincidence that the bicycle didn't flew and hit her, but it flew and it dropped down on the floor, on the ground, and it didn't affect me. So my birthmark, which looked like a hand to me, it was some supernatural forces or even God or whoever that was protecting me from that incident. So I believe it all started with this. So fast forward at 9, that was my first time where I experienced the supernatural, where I see things moving. Yeah, that was during the 7th month. Yeah, when my mom went down to burn the incense paper, that was when I first encountered the supernatural. I saw a door moving. You can say that I mean, of course people will say that pass it off as it must be the wind, but it was moving in a way whereby it was quite, I would say, weird, because it was moving like back and forth and stop and back and forth. Yeah, and I was standing there looking at that door moving. I don't think it's wind because we have all our windows closed, toilet windows closed and stuff like that, so I don't think there's any like wind. I think it was more of when I was 16, when out of sudden I have this medical issue, but I mean I cleared it, so there was no issues regarding like depression or whatsoever. So that was when there's one day after that operation, I actually had a dream. I dreamt that I was on this long and narrow path on the road, and there was like golden bright lights in the sky, and I was walking along that path. Yeah, and I actually heard something. I heard a voice saying that even though you walk through that valley, I will be with you. But I haven't read any Bible. I mean, I am not a Christian at that point of time, so I don't really know all this. Yeah, until when I went and search about it, I realized, oh, there was something about that. It was a journey that it's a journey that led me to become a Christian. The major issue was, it was about this woman that I've seen not only in my dreams many times, but also in real life. When I was sleeping, I woke up and I saw her. She was reaching out for me into my belly. It was quite terrifying. Yeah. That led on to my parents believing in what I mentioned to them about spiritual stuff that happened to me.
And this lady that you see in the dream, do you remember how she looks like?
She looks like she's dressed in like a traditional wear. Looks like Vietnamese traditional wear. Pink color, and there is even like a dragon at that corner flap of her dress. Then she was, I think, short hair, quite pale looking. But in that dream, when I dreamt of her all the time, she will be following me. If not, she will show me a scene of how a man was committing adultery with another woman, and she will be crying and tearing. But let me tell you, there are a lot of interesting things about past life that I've encountered as well. Like, I ever had a dream that I was in I don't know, I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? Like, I was in a war in 1700s period of time. I remember the exact date, October 1748. I was at a war spearheading that war. I was like, so weird. I'm a female, right? How could it be? So when I checked it out online about the month and the year, there was indeed the end of the Austrian Succession War. And I was like, and there was a female that was involved in that war. There was once, I remember, I was staying in another condo. I was living by myself last time before I got married. So I rented a place to stay by myself. during Halloween there were lots. I felt that the energy there was a bit odd. So I went there to prayer walk, right? Wow, I tell you, that night, that was the worst I encountered. I felt like so many kind of disturbed me at one time because I actually prayer walk and say, God bless this place. So I walked from, because all of them put their course outside their house. It was the kind of condominium whereby it's like the shop houses, I mean not shop houses, how do you say, strata kind. So there's like one unit, terrace, one unit, like by one unit. So I was, all of them decorated with a lot of Halloween stuff. I wanted to like prayer walk to release the lots, I mean like some good energy, right? So I went and prayer walk. Then I went back. That night, that was the worst. I got all kinds of things coming to me at one time.
What was the thing that you faced that night?
Sleep paralysis, people pulling my leg, someone strangling me, different, everything. There was once I was staying at my in-laws' place at this a landed area somewhere at Changi. We were walking along the path. I forgot that it was 7 months, that was maybe 2 years ago. Then I felt something hit me. Yeah, I was walking on that path, quite a dark path. You know, the landed area can be quite dark, right? Then suddenly something hit me and I fell onto him. Then he asked me what happened. I said, something hit me lah. Like who was that? So I was like a bit pissed lah. So I scolded some vulgarities. And one more interesting thing was when I moved to my in-laws' house. It was at, okay, so my in-law the house has 4 levels. So I'm living at the 4th floor. Before I moved in, right, she rented that 4th level, the entire 4th level to some other tenants. I mean they fly with SIA lah, so yeah, she rented the area for the flight attendants. Then after that, they moved out after I moved in. So that, I don't know why, I felt there was something weird inside that 4th level. So I sat there and I just prayed and I asked God, like, God, it's like a bit weird, like, if there's any, please show it to me, and also please help me to understand, like I just don't get that sensing right at the 4th level. Then an imagery came to mind. I saw an amulet somewhere, I do not know where. So I told my husband, can you go and open all the cupboards and search for that amulet? I think it's there somewhere. So lo and behold, he opened a drawer and there was an amulet inside. I took it and I just opened it up. It was a huge piece of amulet, a yellow colored amulet with a lot of writings. And after that, I just prayed, I said, whoever you are here, you no longer belong here, I'm going to leave here, so can you please leave? So at that point of time, on my right ear, there was a sigh, like, I even asked you to open all the windows and the curtain and the doors so that all this can go out. So there was a sigh and that thing left. And I took the amulet. I don't know what to do with it, so I'm so sorry. I took it and I threw it to the dustbin at the park. There was once I actually had a dream. I had a dream of a woman. There was one eye blind. So in my dream, I actually went to this toilet that was very beautifully furnished. There were potted plants, and then the mirror was decorated in such a way whereby it's very like traditional looking, I would say. So in my dream, I went to the cubicle. I recalled the middle cubicle. So there were 2 sides of the toilet, right? So I went into the one on the right, in the middle cubicle. So when I sat down there doing my business, I actually turned over to take tissue paper, right? So there is some reflective surface, right? That's where I saw this woman that is one eye blind. And she was crying. I actually was a bit shocked, so I went out of the toilet and I left. So that's when I woke up. Then, one fine day, my sister, she's actually a food writer back then. So she brought me to this place to actually brought me to this hotel for a function. So I went there with her. And nothing happened, everything was fine until I told her I want to go to the toilet. So when I walked to the toilet and opened that door, I felt that there was a gust of wind. And I immediately knew that was somewhere I went to in that dream. And if I continue on, I might see that woman. So I closed the door. I told her, I need to leave now. I don't feel well. I'm going home. How about people who dabble in black magic? I actually fractured my leg 4 months ago. And I believe that it was linked to it. How I know is because why I moved out from my previous place was also due to that. Before my husband's older brother got married. Lady is a Vietnamese woman and I don't know why there are some issues. Not saying issues, but I do not know that I do not know, is it due to just don't like your face or whatever that is causing this. So that house, right, is quite big, right? So there is 2 gates. I'm leaving a gate to catch my Grab somewhere. That time I don't want to drive, so I just took a Grab. And then she happened to came back. And I honestly can't recall how she looked like because I only seen her once for maybe 1 hour before, so I don't really recognize her face. And there are also tenants living in that house as well that they rented out because it's a big space, so they rented also. She claimed that I mean, it was something to do with like, I didn't greet her and I purposely don't want to greet her. That kind of very, very lame, minor, petty things, right? And that leads on to my in-laws to be very angry with me that I never call out to her like 大嫂. Very lame, right? And then that caused my fracture. Like how it happened was, my in-law was so angry, she came upstairs to level 4 to frantically knock on my door when I was actually working. Knock, and ask me to get out. Why I didn't greet her. So I do not know, is it something that she caused them to get into that trance of totally siding her all the way? But I recall walking out of the door very slowly to kind of peek at the peephole. So I was walking very slowly, but when I crossed the living room and the room, right, the moment I come out of the room, slowly, my leg suddenly twisted to the left, and then that part of my foot was fractured. The doctor asked me, have you went like bungee jumping or do something weird, jump very high or get yourself into some accident or whatever? I said no, I was just walking so slowly out my door and I fractured my leg. So the moment my leg fractured, my in-law just left and went downstairs. Okay, so what happened was, I tell you something also very weird, how it links to that I suspect. I had just only recently, 2 weeks ago, I had a very weird dream. I dreamt of her, my in-laws, and they were doing something to me in the dream. And I was very fearful. I was thinking like, this dream, that is one time off. Then I think about it, actually I also had one more dream previously that was about them as well. So I just kept it in my head, but I still felt very uncomfortable. So I told my husband, I said, there's something weird about this, I think we need to, I don't know, pray for them or what, I do not know. I mean, for me, Christian just to pray, right? So I just pray for them or what. So then that night, I still feel very uncomfortable about it. So I told him, can we drive over back to that house? I felt like we need to do something about it. So as he was driving in, I saw my brother-in-law walking at the side, but he didn't see us, so we drove past and we stopped there. Why are we in shock was because he's not supposed to be there. He already moved out, right? So why is it that after we left, he come back to stay? So most means to say that the whole point of my in-law trying to chase us out that point of time was to get us out of the house so that they can move the new sister-in-law and him up to level 4. So it kind of made me realize that, the dream was is it telling me that after all this time when I moved out, the whole plan was to move them upstairs? Is it something related to money? Is it something related to property that they are so hard over using, that result her to use all these kind of things?
What did you find?
You are listening to Supernatural Confessions.